Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on The Merchant of Venice, and today we get to hear from Shylock, who you may have heard of before. Shylock is a Jewish man who is a moneylender in Venice, and he starts out this Act 1, Scene 3. It is Act 1, but the scenes aren't necessarily labeled as such, but we're not in Portia's house anymore, which is where we were in Act 1, Scene 2, so we're going to say this is Act 1, Scene 3. In this Act 1, Scene 3, he is talking to Bassanio. Now, quick rewind, Bassanio was talking to Antonio, who is a merchant who lives in Venice, to whom Bassanio owes a fair amount of money. But Bassanio has an idea that if he marries this rich lady, Portia, then he would be able to pay off his debts to Antonio like twice over. Yesterday we met Portia, who also remembers having met Bassanio and thinks that he's kind of groovy, but she can only marry the person who is able to identify which of these three boxes contains a picture of her, one made of gold, one of silver, and one of lead. So she hasn't liked any of the suitors that have come by so far, but you know, maybe Bassanio will, and that could maybe be cool. So anyway, that was the meat of everything that has happened so far. In Act 1, Scene 3, we have Bassanio talking to Shylock, and Bassanio has come to ask Shylock to lend him money, but Antonio would be responsible for it. So Antonio is like the guarantor on this particular loan, and he's asking for 3,000 ducats. So at the start of the scene, Shylock's like, 3,000 ducats, and Bassanio's like, yeah, and Antonio would be the bondsman for it. And he's like, Antonio would be the bondsman. And Bassanio's like, so what do you think? Will you lend the money? And Shylock says, Antonio is a good man. And Bassanio says, like, have you ever heard anything to the contrary? And Shylock says, oh, no. My meaning in saying he is a good man is to have you understand me that he is sufficient. Yet his means are in supposition. He hath an argosy bound to Tripoli, another to the Indies. I understand, moreover, upon the Rialta, he hath a third at Mexico, a fourth for England, and other ventures he hath squandered abroad. But ships are but boards, sailors but men. There be land rats and water thieves and land thieves. I mean pirates. And then there is the peril of waters, winds, and rocks. The man is, notwithstanding, sufficient. 3,000 ducats. I think I may take his bond. So this is Shylock sort of talking out the pros and cons of taking this deal, of lending this money and then expecting Antonio to get it back. And we'll find out more about the exact nature of the relationship between Shylock and Antonio a little bit later. But what Shylock is saying here is that Antonio does have a good reputation. He does have a reputation for paying off his bonds. But Shylock also knows that all of Antonio's money is currently invested on different ships going in different directions, which would seem to be a good idea, because if one ship sinks, then he's not totally out everything. But there are these other things that can happen. There's creatures in the sea, there's mean people at the places that these ships are supposed to go, and there's pirates. You never know what could happen to these ships. So he thinks about it for a second. He's like, it's almost as if he's saying the worst that could happen is that, yes, I'll get paid back by Antonio. And it's only 3,000 ducats. Okay, I'll do it. And Bassanio's like, okay, cool, great. So you want to give it to me? And Shylock is like, no, I'd like to speak to Antonio about this before we do it. And lo and behold, as if on cue, Antonio enters, and we'll find out more about the relationship between Shylock and Antonio as we dig into tomorrow's monologue. So I will see you then for that. Mwah.